So good morning, everybody. How are you? I probably don't need this thing for you guys. This is for the camera, so sorry, teacher voice. There you go. Hold it out there. Thanks for coming to this session this morning. I'm Lance, Dr. Ford. Hey, you. I answered anything, and most things that are not too pleasant I've had to answer to as well. So thanks for letting me join you guys this morning. This session is sort of an outgrowth of some of the other sessions that I've been doing. People ask me all the time, Lance, so we've got this classroom, we got this conference room, or we got this project, and we want to know how many cameras can you hook up to a Zoom Room experience? So for the purposes of us getting started with this conversation, and we will dive into other things as well, but for the purposes of this morning's conversation, we're going to dive a little bit into Zoom Rooms and how many cameras they support. And then you guys can I'll open mic it and you can kind of go, well, Lance, that's not going to cut it because I need to be able to blah, 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 blah. All right, you fill in the blank. So I will say this about Zoom Rooms. Many times people think of Zoom Rooms as a bar that sits on top of a television, and there are several of those manufacturers here. In fact, we're here today with Jabra as a part of our booth presentation area. And those are wonderful for smaller conference areas for 3 to 4 folks. It's great stuff. Maybe up to 10, okay? Some folks will tell you 15, all right? Yeah, you're laughing because you know that it's not just about the video, right? It's about the audio. And then when you start talking about 15 people and some of them are 20 feet away and yada, yada, yada. All right. But the power of Zoom Rooms is that they are expansible and flexible, and the more time that Zoom has to develop this tool, and we kind of develop stuff like at light speed. It's crazy. Every Monday morning I wake up and go, what did we release this weekend? Oh, there's a software update. I need the release notes. So we're working more and more with the appliances to do this. We're also going to talk a little bit about professional rooms. Most of those are going to be founded in sort of Windows or Mac compute environment. So we'll talk some about those as well, and we'll try to delineate what does what with what. All right. So I showed this slide yesterday, and for the purposes of this moment this morning, we're not talking about audio. We can if you want to. But the number I want you to see is right here. That one, that one. Okay? When I say the number 4, that is the total number of bus cameras I can put into a single Zoom room and push those images out simultaneously. Doesn't mean I can't attach 24 computers to a Zoom room. I'm only going to be able to show 4 of those cameras at one time. Okay. And it kind of depends on how I want to use those cameras. In my office, there's a camera similar to that, only it's an AverCam at the back. And it tracks me through a process called presenter mode on Zoom Rooms. So as I'm walking around my office, about 25 feet deep, about 24 feet wide, it's a full 180-degree swing, right? Because I have stuff all over the walls, and some of you guys have seen my office, so I'm sorry about the mess. But I have stuff all over the walls in there, and that works extraordinarily well for me in that environment. However, on the other side of the wall is the high school library. Yes, my Zoom office is in a public school. We'll talk about that some other time. So in that room, there are 3 cameras that face the students, and there's 1 camera at the back, okay? The camera at the back does the exact same thing that the camera in my office does. So I'm yada, 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 because I don't stand still. My background is music ed. So I'm a high school show choir teacher, band director, master's degree in choral conducting, of all the weird things I have a master's degree in. So that's my background. So I don't stand still very much at all. Consequently, the cameras have to really work to stay up with me. And I have some, in that particular room, I have a Yealink UVC86 that tracks me as a part of that. Facing the students, the 3 cameras are working in concert with one another as opposed to individual cameras. And we'll talk about that as well, okay? But it doesn't matter if they are coming in via USB or if they're coming in via SDI. And yes, you're going to have some sort of an SDI input card on your PC Mac to be able to pull that off, or if they're coming in via NDI. And today, these 2 are Windows Mac, okay? I can't support NDI yet on appliances. Working on that. But I can do any of those flavors, but a total of 4. I can mux them together. 2 NDIs, 1 SDI, and a USB. All right? So I don't have to have 4 of the same kind. Does that make sense so far? Y'all are bobbing your head. I know it's early. Questions? Bueller? Okay. Talk about cultural bias. That was a, yeah, sorry. Bueller reference there. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Anyway, so just real quick, because we're talking about video outputs, I do want to take a moment and say the Zoom Room appliance maximum output that anyone is supporting today is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the appliance. That does include, for those of you who are keeping up with model numbers, the new Poly G62. It's an amazing little device. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's a PoE powered codec. Okay, so I literally don't have power to that. It's got a magnet on the back of it, and I literally stuck it to the back of a television. So to the back of a TV, I plugged in those monitors, and away we went. And plugged in PoE, rocked it. Okay, so what can I put on those three things? Any of these combinations can go on any of these first three. All right. In the world of Zoom today, you predetermine what uniquely goes on each one before the call happens. You can dynamically change it, but no teacher in their right mind, myself included, wants to be in front of a class determining what goes on what monitor. So I typically work with my faculty to say, how do you want this room laid out? How do you teach is the first question I ask when I deploy one of these things in the classroom. So many of them will say, Lance, I want to have content. So in the front of the room, I want content, and I want people back there at the back. Or if I'm bringing in a remote speaker, can you give me show me the way to put the remote speaker plus their content and put them back there as well, so I can stand up in front and they can see and we can all work together. Okay. This fourth monitor, when we first released it about 16 months ago, we released it as a self view. I've always called it the vanity monitor, right? What do I look like going out to my remote students? But now what we've done is we've also released it so that you can actually put content on it, which is the screen share, and we've also got the ability to put the active speaker on it. So it does play more intelligently with the whole flow of where you want to put things. My wall in my office, if you could see it, screen, people, up to 49 people on each one of those screens. They're 65-inch screens. And then, so 147 all the way around. Okay. And then I have my confidence monitor at the top, and it's to show you how vain I am. It's typically me. All right. So I at least know if they're looking at this or if they're looking at this, right? And it reminds me to keep them looking at this, as bad as that is. So I put that up there, but I also will put the person who's speaking up there as well. Because in a gallery image of 49 people, if someone's talking at me, I'm doing this, even though it is a 65-inch television. So if they can automatically pop up to the confidence monitor when they start talking, and I can still see the from everybody else, then I can know, are we resonating? Are we having a conversation, or is this just a presentation? Okay. So this is a lot of power. These are driven via NDI or SDI or HDMI, any combination thereof. Okay. The only way I'm going to get NDI out today or SDI out today is with a Windows or Mac Zoom Room. I'm not going to be doing that on an appliance today. Now, back that little truck up. A few vendors like Logitech. Logitech has several devices that have multiple USB ports on the back. And they have allowed, in some instances, those USB ports to have USB to HDMI ports on them. So you can put a dongle in it, even though it only has 2 HDMI outs natively, and put a third out that process. Okay. But the appliances today are 1, 2, 3. Windows Mac gets me to 4. HDMI on appliances or Windows Mac, and then hardware out, NDI out, requires Windows Mac. Questions about this as you're thinking about designing these rooms? All right, let's roll ahead. Y'all are awful quiet this morning. So sometimes, and my library is one of these spaces, I have those 4 cameras all in there doing their thing. But then we do project work. So there are 5 round tables in this library. Students will come in, they'll do their thing, they'll be huddled around, they'll be growing and going. And then all of a sudden they'll be like, all right, group 1 over here, group 2 over here, group 3 over here. Okay, so we get them up because the brain cannot input more than the behind can endure. And we move them around in the process. How do we do that? Well, we have these little, this is an example of a device called a neat board, and there's one here if you want to see it. This thing has been rolled into this space where a Zoom room is already is present. And when I rolled that in, it paired with this room. So now this device is seen as a part of this experience, even if the experience already has 4 cameras in it. Okay? So I roll it in. There's a little button down here that says switch to companion. I hit that button. Today, how many of you have used Zoom Rooms before I explain all this? Okay, good. Today, I have to put in the sharing code to actually pair it as a part of it. In the next 2 months, the ultrasonic frequency from this room, when I hit switch to share, will automatically switch it. Now, for those of you concerned about room licensing, let's just play a little game here. This Zoom Room right here is a licensed Zoom Room, 2-way interactive communication. When I roll this in and change it from standalone, if it's a standalone, it has another license. But if it were to stay permanently in that room, it would not require a paid license. Okay? So 1 license, add this to it, no cost, except the hardware, BYOH. Here's the caveat, because I'm not just a sugar guy, I'm a vinegar guy, all right? So here comes the vinegar. The companion Zoom Room that I'm going to bring in here has to be a touch-enabled device. In this instance, it is an all-in-one from a company called Neat. The screen is touch, okay? In my world, I have Promethean boards, I have New Line boards, I have smart boards, I have a lot of different interactive boards, okay? I stick my Zoom Room on top of that. So the Jabra bar, the Poly bar, the Yealink bar, the Logi bar. I stick it on top of that, and I take a HDMI out from the bar, but I also take a USB. So I take the USB out from the bar and plug it into the touchscreen, my Promethean, my New Line, my smartboard, and all of a sudden I have a Zoom Room Touch, magically. So now it can pair, and now I don't have to pay for a license because I'm a public school that has 750 kids pre-K to 12. Okay, so that's how we scale this at our place. Most of the grants that I deal with are, and Debbie knows this, hardware grants, right? So I can get tons of hardware paid for at one time. What becomes the challenge is I can get the licensing for the duration of the grant, but then I have to renew the license, and that comes out of here, right? It doesn't come from the grant. So I'm figuring a way, Debbie, don't tell anybody this, I'm figuring a way to shortcut the licensing process and still have all the hardware I need. Does that make sense? Okay. So now I've got this Zoom Room. It's got these 4 cameras in. I've just rolled this guy in, or he's permanently installed in the library's case. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras, and I have this camera. So I just added a 5th camera to that space. I can do that 2 more times. So if I bring in 2 more of these devices, now I've got 7 cameras in the space. So when that Zoom Room connects, there are 7 gallery images coming from shots around that room, right? And you're like, Lance, overkill. You're killing me, Smalls. What are we doing here? Sorry, another cultural reference. And that movie was on, by the way, when I ate breakfast yesterday. So, Sandlot. So why would you need that many? Because I've got, in my library, it's mounted to the wall. There's a table that comes out like this, and students are working on manipulatives right here. I need this camera angle of that so they can see their remote peers, and the remote peers can see what they're doing. I got another one back there, and I got another one back there. So they have walked up to these spots where these little tables are coming off the wall, and they're doing their thing. All right? I've got 60 seconds left, so I got to hurry. We talked about this extensively yesterday, so I'm not going to hammer it anymore. It is a free piece of software. It says it's an open beta. It's publicly released. You need to go to marketplace.zoom.us if you want to start playing with how do I route NDI feeds between different Zoom rooms. Now, if you're interested in, Lance, what cameras play this game, scan that QR code. You're going to see pro AV cameras. You'll see basic cameras. You'll see panoramic cameras. You'll see large room cameras. You'll see small room cameras. They're all listed there, and they are all certified cameras with Zoom Room. So if you buy it off that list, you're not going to have to call me and go, well, this camera doesn't work. I'm going to go, did you look at the list before you bought it? Okay, so that QR code right there is your key to knowing, is this stuff actually Zoom Room certified before you buy it? Is that QR code working? I see heads bobbing. Okay, good. All right. I'm over time because it's 9:16 almost. That QR code, which is different, is actually a whiteboard that has all the presentations I've been doing here. So if you want that, it also has my contact information. I have my card. Debbie and I are easy to find. We are first.last at zoom.us. So I'm lance.ford at zoom.us. Debbie.mcfarland at zoom.us. Okay. Hamilton.gordon at zoom.us. That's how we roll. Any questions for me before I get the heck out of Dodge? Because I know you've got a presentation like right now. No? Dan, okay. Oh, Dan, well, come on in here, buddy.
We'll switch it.
Thank you all so much. All right, I'm out of your way, brother.
Cool. Okay. And we do need you to speak into the microphone.
I need to use a microphone.
Yeah, for the recording.
Okay.
But other than that, you are good to go, sir.
Okay.
Cool. Feel comfy?
Alrighty. Quick here. Can I, Brad? You want to hold that? All right. I'm just going to put this one over here. Okay. Talking about Auracast. So Auracast is a brand new thing that I think is going to affect a lot of our campuses. It's not only going to affect your daily life. If you have kids, if you have grandparents, it'll affect them. But it'll also affect all of our classrooms and things that are going to be all around campus. And so it's part of the Bluetooth spec. And so it came out of the Bluetooth consortium. So they're the same people who brought you Bluetooth. They're now bringing you Auracast. And so what are the limitations of Bluetooth? Anybody? One device, right? You can go from your laptop to your AirPods or whatever else, right? Have you ever had the time where you've got a movie and you want to watch it with multiple people? Right? What's another limitation of Bluetooth? Distance. What is it? Distance, right? So it only goes like 35 feet, right? So you're walking around your house and you're like, oh, and your music starts coming down and you're like, oh man. And so those are two major things that's happening with Bluetooth. And so Auracast is a broadcaster and transmitter. And so basically what Auracast will do is go to unlimited number of devices. So it doesn't matter just one, two, you can go to literally 36,000 devices. Or if you're at a Taylor Swift concert, you can just do the one and broadcast to everybody that's hanging out there. And so you have receivers and transmitters. And so basically the distance of Auracast is 100 meters. So which means that you could have it coming from your television and walk all 3 floors of your house and not worry about anything dropping. You go out in your yard, you go to the alley, and you're still going to maintain connection. So that's a big deal when you're talking about it. And again, you only need one transmitter, and it doesn't matter how many receivers you have on the other end. And so that's kind of a nice thing for us. And so think about what you could do with this if you just had one transmitter. So you've already got an audio system, right? And so then you could put some kind of a transmitter on it, broadcast it throughout your classroom or your auditorium, and anybody with a device that was Auracast capable could pick up that signal, right? So you think about hearing impaired, all the people, accessibility. If you're going to churches, how many, you've got older people, younger people, and they can't quite hear. It depends on where they sit, so on and so forth. This is going to solve all of that. So just in a nutshell, this is what it does. Now, it uses Bluetooth LE, which is a low energy thing. So not only are you going to more devices farther, but your quality is going to be better on your audio than standard Bluetooth. So another major advancement to that. So hit the wrong thing here. And accessibility. So how many people have seen these little things? You see them in like museums, you see them at actually my hotel room, the room next to me has one of these things on the door. You see them everywhere, especially in public spaces, government spaces, so on and so forth. Anybody have telecoil hearing leaps in their classrooms? Where you actually had to trench the floor, right? And put a big old cable across there. 1965 technology, you could come in, if you had telecoil in your hearing aids, then you could hear, but you had to stand in a certain area. You had to be within that telecoil in order to pick up in your hearing aids or devices. So this technology has been around since 1965. Old school. We're talking like, VHS, back in the day, all analog. And so it's about time that we did something a little bit better. And one of the cool things about this is you're talking about low cost, which we all appreciate, right? So instead of trenching the floor, doing some cables, the transmitters are now, I'm thinking they're going to be around $100. So then you could put a transmitter right into your system and just broadcast it right into your classroom for little to no money. So the first place that's done this already, they're already on board at the Sydney Opera House. They've already got it there, so it's already actually working. I can go across this. He talks about it's really going to affect people with hearing aids. And that's one of the major things and I have hearing aids, so maybe that's why I'm more interested in this stuff. But there's also a bunch of brands out right now. So if an Auracast room, I could go inside the Auracast room and connect to it, and it would come directly to my hearing aids. So we don't need to watch that. But so dongles, streamers, and adapters is kind of what we're doing with this stuff. So let me just give you an example. Yeah, you've all had Bluetooth speakers, right? And you've always just been able to cast to one speaker. So so I've got 4 speakers here, 2 in the back. And you've got distributed audio. And you could have as many Bluetooth speakers as you wanted. I could have 10,000 Bluetooth speakers in this room and all connected from my phone or my watch. So I'm Bluetoothing to one currently, and then Auracast pairing with everything else. And so these are Ultimate Ears, which is by Logitech. And so these are $79. They already have Auracast built in. You can buy them today. And even different than that, these are JBL Go 4s. I'll pass these around. This is a $39 Bluetooth speaker. You can buy it at Target or Walmart. It's got a power button, and it's got a Bluetooth, we've all recognized, and it has another button on there, and that's Auracast. So it's already built in. And you notice I'll pass out both of these. They actually have 2 different, the icons are slightly different because they're still in the process of kind of changing things. But again, you could have as many of those. So think about it, I had a wedding, and you're all outside. You could have distributed audio at every single table, right? $39 speakers, and at the end of the day, you're like, hey, take the speaker, go home. So you could do some pretty cool things with distributed audio across whatever you wanted to do. So this is the estimated kind of where we're at. This is the Bluetooth Consortium, and they think that this is it's going to take off. I also think it's going to take off. So think about it. When you were traveling here, you came through an airport maybe, right? And the airport, you've got all these signals broadcasting, gate number, Mrs. Jones, Miss whatever. What if you could subscribe to just your gate number? All I care about is gate 42. I don't care about, that's where I'm going. So you can subscribe to that on Auracast feed. If you're in Buffalo Wild Wings and there's 28 televisions playing games, all you care about is this game, you could subscribe to that game. If you're in your athletics center and all these TVs are going on, you could connect your device to just that TV. You come directly to your AirPods or whatever it is, and you can listen to it. And you could broadcast that to as many people who wanted to. And so Samsung televisions now are shipping already. These are the devices that are already shipping with Auracast built into it. Now, the one thing you don't see up there is what big guy don't you see up there? Apple. Everybody's waiting for Apple. So the chipsets that are already in your iPhones, that are already in your AirPods, already support Auracast. Apple didn't make Auracast, so they're a little proprietary. So everybody's waiting for them to just do a firmware update and turn it on. And once that happens, it's going to change things pretty rapidly. But the Samsung Galaxy phones, if you have those already have it built in. The Google Pixels, the brand new Google Pixels are already doing it. The new Samsung televisions are already coming out with it built into the television, which means that your grandma or grandpa could connect directly to the television with their hearing aids or device and control the volume so it's not like 10 this crazy loud, right, when you go to the grandpa and grandma's house. So they can control it, and you could walk around your entire house. You could put the baseball game on, go in your kitchen and cook and listen to the baseball game at your volume anywhere in your house. So these are the companies that are doing it. It's going to replace the old telecoil system. Think about admission tours on campus, right? I could have a little transmitter to hang from my neck. Everybody could have their AirPods or headphones, walk around, and it was directly to them. Even though I've got 40 people, I'm talking. And you can do it in multiple languages. So inside of an airport, you could broadcast in multiple languages. You just choose a language that you want for whatever device you need. The way you connect to it is you're going to join it just like you would like a Wi-Fi thing. You're going to pick the signal. You can actually put a code on it. So you could have Classroom 101, Classroom 102, Classroom 103, and you just do it. You can also just tap your phone. Right when you walk in the door, you'd have an Auracast signal on the door. Tap it, boom, I'm connected. I'm good to go for this class. And I'm going to the next thing. Or a QR code. You can scan it and connect to it. Yeah. Correct. Well, eventually, yeah, I think eventually it's going to go direct. Right now, there's still that intermediary step. That's a good question. Yeah. If you grapple around it. So right now, I mean, like these, I connect one to these, right, with the Bluetooth, but that other speaker can be, clear over there in the conference room, and I could still be playing on it on my phone. So it's that distance. So I think you still need to connect to your phone. I think you're right. And then go up. Is that right? Is that what you believe?
Current devices, yes. They use the phone as an intermediary.
Okay. Yeah. But I think eventually.
You're not wrong. And in the future, hearing aids, earbuds, whatever, would connect directly to that. Natively to it. Yeah. So
yeah.
Your phone just point it to that, but then it was.
So like in the future, if I'm on a plane with my kid, we can be both watching the same movie.
Exactly.
It just be Auracast instead of Bluetooth. Like there'd be an Auracast tab, not a Bluetooth tab.
Right. So your computer would broadcast the Auracast signal, and it would go directly to whatever your device is. Yeah. So your computer will broadcast it as well, not just your phone. So your laptop in that case. Yeah.
If I'm already connected to two devices, if I tap that Auracast, is it going to take over one of those connections in my device? If I take my phone and I tap it, is it going to automatically disconnect one to reconnect that?
I don't know. Do you know?
Just like Wi-Fi, yeah. I think so. It would just grab whatever last one in, first one out sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, and they're also talking about like multiple connections of the Auracast feeds. So let's just say you're in an airport, you're watching a movie, you got your headphones on, it's going good, and then all of a sudden there's a gate announcement. It should actually interrupt your movie and say, and you should hear that gate announcement that your plane's now boarding, and then you can move from there. So.
Is it all receiving information? How about like say a campus tour? Someone wants to ask a question. Is there any?
No, right now it's just the one way. Yeah. So if you think about like, do you remember the drive-in movie theaters we used to go to? And back in the day, you had to take the thing off the thing and stick it in the ground. But then a while after that, you could pull your car up and you turn your radio to whatever station, right? And it was broadcasted out. So think about that. It's like almost like an FM transmission in a limited area. And it didn't matter how many cars were in the drive-in, right? You could all hear it. So that's that kind of same kind of thing. And so there's Auracast. And yeah, I want to thank Logitech for giving me one of these mini rolls. There'll be one in the auction. And if you have any questions or if you need the slides, I'm good to go. That was just a quick 10-minute. All right. Okay. Thanks.
That was excellent, sir. I think I definitely got the easy end of the stick on this.
It does have an HDMI, so.
Okay. There it is. Should cooperate beautifully. And then we are having folks use that.
Okay.
Or, I have one.
Once it decides to where.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm last, so if I go over a little bit, I won't be ruining somebody else's well-timed presentation. In the back of the room, I was totally happy doing this, and now it's like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Technology is guaranteed.
Hooray!
Excited for this one.
Okay. I wonder if, I don't know that closed captioning is going to work in here because it's going through the room, so I don't think you're going to get them. So I apologize in advance that you will not see any words on my slides, but they should be there. So this is going to be a little bit different than any other presentation that you see. If you don't want to interact with us today, you can go to the back of the room, and there's a memory style version of the same exact content that you can interact with on your own. If you don't want to do something that's pen and paper, you can go to the other side of the room in the left-hand corner, and you can play all of this content in an escape room on an iPad and never have to talk to me or anyone else in this room. And you can do that right now. So somebody should get up and go check out the cool other options you have. If you stay in your seat at the end of my really quick introduction to all this information, I'm going to make you interact with each other. So you'll have one more chance to escape and go choose a different option of how to interact with this UDL information. If you don't know what UDL is, it's Universal Design for Learning. It's been around since the 80s. It's sort of kind of a law. We should all be doing it. This goes really quick, so pay attention. I'm going to give you clues to actually answer all the questions that are in the game. Okay, so in 2020, CAST, that's the folks who actually arrange all our UDL stuff. Most of them were part of how this graphic organizer was built out. They thought, we're missing some steps in UDL, and we want to make sure we're using best practices, that we're following the most current research, and so we need an update. So if you don't recognize this, this is UDL 1.0. Look how pretty it is. The colors are very similar. It was made in 2008. I know the copyright says 2009, but it's from 2008. And so in this effort, they did a lot of reviewing and updating. This is actually the 2018 version of the UDL framework. So same thing, we have this happy little graphic organizer. It's very similar to the other one. So this is 2024. So all the work from 2020, they worked for 4 years to do this update. It's actually the 5th iteration of the graphic, but I wasn't going to show you all 5 because they become very, very similar when you get to this point. So we're going to highlight 2 critical updates to this framework today. One of them is language shifts. So they're trying to match the language that we all use currently now with the graphic organizer, because we were still kind of using some outdated language about how we talk about designing spaces and systems for students and learners, right? And then there's structural updates. And so hopefully some of you can see the difference between this one and this one. So that's what I'm talking about with structural updates, is you can actually like see things have moved around in the form. It's very similar still, but moved around. And then one other thing, which is specifically the reason why why CAST got together to do these updates, is because they thought that addressing bias was missing from how we approach UDL. And so there's a bunch of folks that were in ESL, myself included, and we thought, we're losing out on a section of learners that we never address, which is people who don't speak English as a native language. So that's where it started. And then we were like, well, also, some of our language is not what we really use anymore, how we talk. And teaching has changed over time, right? So we've shifted from this teacher-centered model to a learner-centered model. And they said, we want to make sure all of this language matches the current model for how we actually design rooms. Okay, so here's our 2 organizers side by side. Still very similar. They kind of take the same footprint, but some things have been moved around, right? So there's this shift of the overarching goal. So 4 years ago, the goal was down here. And now the goal has been moved to the top, because that's actually what we want your focus to be, right? We're no longer building expert learners, because we actually cannot do that, right? But we can have this goal of learner agency. We want autonomous learners that we help build meaning, right? And so that was the first thing, is they want to change the focus. So what you see when you look at the graphic organizer now, first is really what our goal is, right? And it's all about that learner-focused shift. Okay. So since addressing bias was one of the main drivers of all these edits, you'll actually see in the new version, they've changed and actually added this consideration. And they've actually done it 3 times. So there's 3 places where you'll see address bias, address bias, address bias, and they put that in each principle. So there's a way for you to do that under each heading, right? So then another thing that you'll see is what I talked about with structural updates, right? So not only do we move the goal to the top because that's actually what we want our focus to be, this learner agency, but also these side categories have changed. So if you're not familiar, this last category used to say executive function, but now it doesn't, because that skill is actually across all the domains, not just in one. So they decided this should be strategy development, and we'll make this entire row that executive function, right? And so you'll also see another row change, where now it says support here. So if you go back, it used to say build, right? Well, we're not building anything. We're supporting someone else that's building something, right? It's all back to that learner-centered language, which is the best practice we all already are doing, but now the language matches that, right? One change you'll hear me talk about basically the whole time is I use the word considerations, because it's not checkpoints anymore. So all of these under our guidelines used to be called checkpoints. And they decided, well, checkpoint sounds like it's something you can do and complete and move away from, and you cannot. Also, it sounds like something you should do all of, right? But it's not. You just need to do considerations. You need to think about what thing is going to work in the space that I'm in, right? And so you'll also see we've changed some other guidelines. So first, we now design options for, right? We're not providing anything. We're designing for. And then it's welcoming interests now, because we want to be more inclusive. And it's strategy development instead of executive function, because that goes across a wider range. And then we have where it used to be physical action at the top, now it's interaction, right? Because that includes other ways that we can be physically active. So they were like, this is actually kind of limited. What we really want is for you to engage with each other, engage with the content, and engage yourself, right? Okay, so now we're going to do some crazy stuff. You could either A, on your own, participate in this interactive quiz. It's not actually a quiz because it's going to tell you if you got it right or wrong, and it's going to provide you feedback the whole time. If you don't want to do the interactive quiz, there's an escape room behind Jen in the back of the room that you can go and do, and it will give you all the exact same content that is in the interactive quiz. These are the instructions you'll see. And then if you're not choosing either of those, oh, there it is. I'm about to put you in groups. So I need 3 groups. If you're not at one of the other stations because you chose them, then you're going to be in 3 groups. So create 3 groups with people around you, and I will give you your assignment.
Yep, we're all taking
If you're in a seat, then you're playing a game. I'm just playing. Who wants to make a group? Come on, it's not that bad. Yay! Who will you be in a group with?
Good question. Who wants to be?
So that you see the door got closed. So if you don't get all the numbers on that paper from this quiz, you don't get to leave this room. You have to stay in here with me. Does anybody else want to do this version? Or if you don't feel like working with a group, you can do it by yourself in the back, memory style. Would you like to try it? So this handout is actually both versions of the UDL guidelines. This is where you put your codes that you earn. If you have the cards, one of you should read the instructions. It's the same as these instructions here. So you have both versions of UDL to help you. And then for some of us who are very like paper handout, let me see it. I also have directly from CAST, they have this nice handout that tells you what the guideline was before and what it has changed to now. So if you'd like more reference material, I also have that. And I have enough that people can take them if they want.
Joanne, how can you have so many different forms?
Oh, that's a wonderful question, Jen. Can anyone in the room tell me why would I have so many options for you to choose from? In the way that you want to, in the way that you make knowledge, right? Exactly. And then I'm going to change this. So once you finish the interactive version, you're welcome to join the version that will actually tell you you're wrong. And if you would like more reference material, this sometimes helps because it has all the changes listed. So this is a very limited view of what the changes are. I love the teamwork. This is great.
You did give us all the answers.
I tried really hard.
Helps to listen.
And that was extremely fast. So in a real situation, I would never do it this quickly. But I wanted it to be like a very lightning fast. If you only learn 7 things about UDL, here's the 7. Here are the structural changes that happen so that when you see the new guidelines, you're like, oh, this feels familiar. And luckily, they kept the colors the same. Most of it is in the same location. So I think it's come full circle to where we really are today. And then I guess if somebody would like, they can come and try the escape room up here on the projector. No pressure. No pressure at all. It's all the same exact content again. Is there anyone in the room that's never looked at anything related to Universal Design for Learning before, or is everybody familiar? Oh, really? Wonderful. Oh my goodness. 5, 6. That's wonderful. Okay, this is probably not the best way for you to be introduced to UDL, or maybe it is the best because you will just have all the new terminology now. Yep. So CAST is the group who is the most active with everything UDL related. So literally if you Google CAST, you will find all the research, you will find all the guidelines, you will find all the graphic organizers. Everything they have is free, it's open source. So like if you wanted to use this graphic somewhere, they will give you permission to use it, even though they have the copyright on it. And then they actually have, not only do they have this document on their website that you can get, where it puts them side by side, what it used to say, what it says now, but they also are providing the document that they used while they were doing all this work together. So anyone who was active in this group while they did the updates, the things they said, the questions they had, what led them to care about the research that changed some of the verbiage or changed how they do the structural design is all available on there. So you can see what happened and why. Yes, Jen. Did you win? Oh, so you have to do the math on the little piece of paper. So there is math involved. But I do have a hint for you. That's your hint. If you can get this hint, again, all of us had some bias today, correct? This is mine. Not all of us will know what this means. It might be meaningless to you, but some of us know exactly how to escape now. Yeah. So this is why the addressing bias, I think, was so high on the list of the goals when these changes were made, is because we have a Ferris Bueller reference, we have this musical reference. Not everyone is going to get these references, so we should be thinking about that before we include something in a learning environment or before we suggest something to faculty or whoever it is that we support, right? Does anybody have any questions? The escape room is open if anybody wants to try it. This is actually like an image from the escape room. The escape room would have been what you clicked on, but I built it in Power Apps. And if you don't know, Power Apps does not let you share outside of your organization. So only 2 of us in this room would have been able to actually do it any other way. What is nice about Power Apps is you can download the app right onto an iPad, and then anyone can use it without signing in, and you don't even need Wi-Fi. So there's like bonuses and negatives. I played them the song, and they still didn't get the number. You did. The winner! They did maths, and it's in the correct order. And that's our time. Thank you.